We are live. The Clashing Conferences podcast, rotating members group, NFL playoffs, and nothing else. Specifically, no college sports to be talked about today at all. Gentlemen, say good evening, good morning, whenever we're listening. Say your welcomes.
What's up?
What up,
Wow.
Patty?
What up?
Uh, Before we get into my Roman death march here, I'd like to start off by saying we are the Clash of Conferences Network. We are a network of the people, by the people, for the people. We are a community always looking for more to join us. Please, if you're interested, follow us on socials, Facebook, Instagram, the revived TikTok, anywhere you can find us. Come join. We'd love to have you. And shout out to our sponsor, Sparrow Hair Studio in Lancaster, PA. If you're ever heading through Lancaster, PA, stop by Sparrow Hair Studio for your next haircut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gentlemen, I'll start. I'll let you kind of banter afterwards. I'm proud. I'm proud of their efforts. There's two mistakes I'll talk about. Obviously, I'll let you guys get into them. I don't agree with kicking the field goal there. I
Yep.
think I think you got to go for it there, down 8. I heard Mark Freeman's reasoning, and fine, whatever. I don't agree with it. And the second thing I'll say is, if you were going to fake punt, why not just go for it on 4th and 2? Keep your offense on the field, keep your strength on the field. But other than that, I'm happy with their performance. They went up against a $20 million program and fought their, ass off to the last minute, despite what the score says. So, national championship thoughts. Tony P, you've been, rearing to go. So start us off tonight. What are your thoughts about, as of right now, last night's game? But when you're probably hearing this, probably Monday night's game.
Patty, when your team trotted out the field goal down 2 touchdowns, it blew my mind. I could not believe it. And then they missed it.
Yep.
The fourth down decisions in these games are just, it's crazy. They go for it on 4th and 2. They fake punt it on 4th and 15. They miss field goals. Like, special teams, man, killed so many teams. We're going to talk about it later, but when that happened, Patty, I was screaming like, "You're going for championship. You got to go for it."
Leave it
Notre
all
Dame,
on the
Notre
field.
Dame played hard though. I could not believe they even made it back in that game. When they came back in the second half, Ohio State couldn't do nothing against them. So, I mean, I would say the same thing. I mean, you went up against the best team. I think playing the best team and put up a valiant effort, but crazy. Kicking that field goal was crazy.
Mr. Ramon, I know you don't really watch college football, but bear me a little bit while you're at it, shirt and tie boy.
Well, boys, I think the question really bears is how many games were there in this college playoff? And then how many would you say were actually entertaining?
I would say
That's a good
3.
question.
I would
Yeah.
say 3 games.
Okay. And would you consider last night's game entertaining?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, not so much after the first drive. It kind of sucked, and then they came back in the second half. But it was more entertaining than some of the first round. I'll say that.
Okay. I just, as an outsider looking in, I feel as though it was the same thing that we always get. You get maybe 1 or 2 good games. The rest are blowouts or they're not close. The usual team always wins. It's always Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. There's no parity. So honestly, I could care less. Give me something entertaining and different. But if you keep again, it's like going to a restaurant saying we got the same 3 meals. Yeah, it kind of gets boring after a while. And Notre Dame pooping their pants in the championship, that apparently is a thing now too. So.
Oh, it was
Boom.
already a thing in case you didn't pay attention. I said it in the first quarter. I said
They're very good
it
at doing that
was
per
already a
usual
thing.
in the
You don't have to
playoffs.
bring it up. It was already a thing. Mike, what do you think? We haven't gotten to hear from you yet. What are your thoughts
I'm gonna
about
take.
last night's game?
Quantum
We,
Maria.
I think Ramon just got in a wrestling match with somebody.
Oh, there's all kinds of things going on. Holy
They
fuck.
fighting back.
I'm gonna take it easy on you, Patty. I was in the car all night last night. I did not see 1 second of the game. I did listen to it on the radio, which is just not the same, and I got no analysis really.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Anthony, what do you think?
Well, I had Ohio State and I was watching with an Ohio State fan, so that was kind of annoying. And I kind of wanted to see you guys win just for the fact that you guys have made it so many times and been so close, which is my only rebuttal to you, Matt, is that you were saying, oh, it's always the same teams. Ohio State hasn't won since 2015. Notre Dame is, I don't think, ever won in at least my lifetime. And both these teams had a chance for a championship. I think that's the perfect matchup. Two
I
teams
mean,
that
I'll be
were
saying the
going
same
for
thing
it.
when the Celtics are in it this year. It's the same team every year. Celtics are in the championship
But
every year.
Hold
It's
on.
your team. Don't
This
worry.
is
Like,
not, hey, Sir Anthony, this is not the Champions podcast, okay? If it were, you wouldn't even be invited. Don't talk. Shush. Shh.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Anthony on this one. I think that there's more parity than people think, despite Ohio State winning. I think that obviously there was a time when it was Alabama and Clemson back and forth for a few years, and I understand how people feel, but we have seen, even with the 4-team playoff, teams that weren't expected to get in. And I think with the 12-team playoff, you're going to see more of that. I know the first round wasn't great this year, but I think part of that is the reason that uh, you know, we saw some of these teams get in, but we've had TCU, we've had Washington in the last couple of years, we've had Michigan, obviously, who is a great college football team, but hasn't been to the mountaintop in a while. So I think that there's, some interesting things, and I saw Anthony kind of point to his belt. I'm sure you saw that tweet last night where Bill posted the college football trophy saying next year. I'm sure you saw that.
I cannot believe he said that. We are going to be so awful next year. I don't think you guys have any idea. Like,
He's not going
Can't
to
be
be
worse
there.
than Kentucky.
I mean, we're going to win 8 games. Woohoo. But, like, come
As a
on.
Bill's
as a
leaving.
Kentucky fan, I would love to win 8 games.
I know.
Yeah, but
Like,
you guys were never good at football. We were good at one point in time.
Hey, all right, look, I was just talking. You didn't have to like dagger me like that. All right, I was just saying
You made me
like
go
I
there.
would
You
like
made
to.
me go there.
Yeah.
That's fair. So, we'd like to say, I think personally, as a Notre Dame fan, the ride that I've been on, and I think from all of us here on the pod, as we wrap up the college football portion of our pod, we'd like to say thank you for sticking with us over the last 2 to 3 months that we've been listening and talking about this. We were talking about Indiana in October. It's a team that made the playoff. We were talking about Notre Dame losing to NIU and Tony P. And we were talking about these teams, and we've grown a lot. So before we get into our pro segment, we'd like to say thank you. And this is our perfect transition time to let you know that Cody and Tony P are tied for our NFL Pick'em lead at
Boom.
8
I don't know
total
how I am
pick'ems.
because I think I lost both my locks last week.
And
Great. Well,
then
I'm saying
Mike, our producer Steve, and Lewis are all right behind him. And Matt, I believe, actually, if I am checking my list right, he also is at 7. So we got a hot little thing. I want to say some people lost the Super Bowl pick. I want to say Cody had the Lions. So there's
That
going to
was
be
me.
some people that are missing out on those bonus points, with the 5 points to win the NFC and the 10 to win the Super Bowl. So it's going to get tight here down the stretch. Let's just go right in order. We'll talk about Chiefs, Texans. We kind of saw this somewhat coming, but obviously a big NFL topic with the Mahomes calls that we've been talking about all week. So we'll get right into it. Tony P, I'm sure you have some not so nice words to say about Patrick Mahomes at our PG 10.
Let it all out for us.
crazy. Like, crazy how the Chiefs just get away with everything. Every week they just get away with crimes against humanity. Like, the Texans, no sack at all. Should have won that game. Could have won that game. And I would say that was just as similar as the college football playoff game where they were just trailing the whole game and they just made stupid decisions down. Like, you're down 10 points against the best team in football, and you got to take chances, and these teams don't do it. But I will say this because I told you last week to take Texans plus 10. Let me tell you, I lost a lot of bets this weekend. I won a lot of bets. Them taking that punt and running it on the other side and getting a safety to win plus 9 was my favorite bet I've ever won in my life. Like, they were down 11 points that whole game, and then they just decided to run it out of the end zone at the end to lose by 9. And
Yeah, I mean
that was amazing.
that was definitely one of those Vegas knows moments. I mean,
I could
I
not
got
believe it. I was listening to the radio. I was so sad, and they're like, "And he runs it to the back of the end zone." I was screaming so hard. I could not believe it.
Yeah, because unfortunately for you, when the Packers take safeties, it's not voluntarily. So, you got to celebrate them every now and then. So,
That
Matthew,
one
what'd you
hurt.
think? Did you catch the
Hold
Chiefs?
on. Before
No,
we
no,
get out of this,
don't.
Cody, I'm coming at you for Kentucky
You
last
know,
week. You're not getting away with that.
of course I am. The Steelers suck too. All right. Uh, Maddie, what do you think here? What'd you think of the game?
Chiefs Texans. I mean, yeah, it's pretty similar to what Tony thought. I think that the NFL has their darling child that they want to see succeed. And again, we'll touch on it later, but there were some other calls in some other games that, as a football fan and someone that knows football, you're like, dude, come on, that's not the right call. And then it ends up being the thing that decides the game. But I think again, the Texans, I think if they stay healthy and they continue to build that team the way they did this offseason, that is going to be the team that gives Kansas City problems moving forward because again, when they have everybody healthy and they've got Tank and they've got Stephon and they've got Nico and they've got Mixon in the backfield, that's a scary team. And you could see that they were right there with KC, but when it came time to the fourth quarter, they didn't have enough in the tank. KC did. So again, not surprised, but I would like to see the Texans come back next year even better.
Cody, your brain's firing off. What are you thinking?
I, you know, they were right there with them, but then, the morale of a team, you just start to think, okay, I got to play this team, and then I also got to play a team of refs. I think it was horrible for the sport. I really do. It was just, it makes you not even want to watch a Chiefs game because oh well, at the end, Chiefs are going to win because it's going to somehow get twist turned. Mahomes is going to be able to get a flag and go down, score a touchdown with it. It just sucks. And I hope it don't happen with the Bills. You know what I mean? I hope they
Yeah,
get knocked out. But we'll
absolutely.
we'll we'll cover that later.
Anthony, what are you thinking? What'd you think of this one?
It was just a build up to the best game of the weekend. That's
I
really all it
figured I
was.
figured I'd
But
keep
I
you nice
mean,
and soft on this one. I figured
just
I'd load you up, spring you up. So we'll just go right to Mike. Nope, nope, no more words. Save them. Cut a nice promo. Mike, what'd you think?
Well, Patty, much like Marshawn Lynch a couple years ago, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I didn't realize this until just a little while ago, but I did not watch 3 of the 5 games that we're here to talk about tonight.
Dang.
Saturday, I drove from North Carolina to Pennsylvania, and there's a couple casinos in between on that drive, so it's like a 16-hour trip for me. And then the same thing coming back the other way last night. So I only watched games on Sunday. I don't have much analysis for the Saturday games
All
once
right, that's
again.
fair. That's
Patty,
fair.
I
We
just want to know one more thing I forgot to bring up, as because you're a gym teacher and a football coach. What
yes.
did you think about that special teams player getting the personal foul and then going and
I
like
thought it was
attacking the coach?
crazy. I thought it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And like, I get you're in a high emotional moment, but like, I mean, he's probably going to get cut in the next two
They
to
have
three
nothing
weeks,
to next
whenever they
kickoff.
start cutting people. Like,
What was the
uh,
cause of it? I never heard the cause.
so basically, he forced a fumble like on the kick return,
Yeah,
and then he popped his helmet off and threw it towards the sideline. Which, if you pop your helmet off at any level of football, is an automatic 15-yard penalty.
Mm-hmm.
High
yep.
school, college, NFL. So the coach was like, "Dude, you're killing us. Like, you just cost us
Like,
15 yards."
yeah,
And he just shoved the crap out of his special teams coach. Like,
And the look on his face was pure fear. All
oh,
right. When
terror.
I watched a replay in slow mo, I've never seen somebody's eyes get that big.
Absolutely.
It was comical. I feel sorry
Here's
for the guy, but it was comical.
here's all I'll say. This will kind of be my last point on the Chiefs before we get into them later. But I agree that they get calls, but they don't get calls the way the Brady teams maybe got calls. But here's my piece. I understand that they get the calls,
they.
but 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 the officials did not allow a 75-yard kick return to start the game. The officials did not miss 2 kicks inside the 20-yard line, whether it was an extra point or a field goal. I'm not saying
True.
that the officials weren't bad and weren't biased towards KC, because they were, but KC still took care of business on the field when it mattered. Steve Spagnuolo is still the best defensive coordinator of my lifetime, and they take care of business when it matters, and that's all I'll say for now. Because obviously we're gonna talk about it when it comes to Buffalo. Anthony, are you ready? Nobody else gets to talk till afterwards. You got the
Yes.
floor. Cardiac Commanders. You call it for another week. Let's go, baby.
I called it. I don't know how I did it. It was amazing. That was literally the greatest game I think I've ever watched as a Commanders fan, and it's been 19 years of pain and suffering. Ooh, Lions fans deserve it. No, we do. I do not care. They had Barry Sanders at one point in time. We had a fullback. I don't want to hear it.
This is fair.
JD played so amazing. People were even saying he played. What is it? His birth certificate is a rookie, but not on the field. He literally made zero mistakes. Their only fourth down that we messed up on wasn't his fault. Marcus Mariota, for some reason, stood there. I didn't understand that one. But everything else was perfect. Terry was amazing. Was it Bijan was on, which I kind of wanted to cut him, but that's besides the point. Austin Eckler was amazing. De'Ami Brown was amazing. We actually made field goals. And then, obviously, I think, did we miss one?
I want to say you missed an extra point. I don't know
I
if you
think
missed a field
so.
goal.
But other than that, we maybe have a kicker, so that's what we really need at this time. But our defense, that's my last point, is our defense was, oh my gosh, amazing. It was
Yeah.
unreal. Quan Martin, our backup safety, pick six, and then the rookie, 2 interceptions on a Jamison Williams throw, which was the craziest play I'd ever seen. I hope Caleb Williams does that. I'd love to see him throw more picks. It's going to be great. But yeah, I am
How am
riding
I
high
getting
into
pulled
next
into
week.
this?
Don't even worry. I am riding high into next week. We'll get into that later. But it is Commanders all steam ahead.
Anyone else want to touch on that game, or I won't go in order? We'll just kind of jump around.
I'm on the two-way train. And Commanders now. I'm on the Commanders bandwagon.
I mean, they took down your Super Bowl pick. I mean, the only thing
Yeah.
I'd like to touch on is I'm sure you guys and Matt had mentioned this a little bit. I'll let him talk here after this, but we talk about no penalty and that hit on Goff on the pick six, and he comes back after it, and not that it would have changed the game, but you think like, it should have been called, and again, it wasn't. You can't go back in time, but to me, pretty significant. Obviously, he's got to come out the next drive. They score with Teddy, which was awesome. But I mean, props to the Commanders on my end. I thought they played great. I think you talk about like Dan Quinn got thrown away last year as the Cowboys DC after that playoff game when the Packers took him to town, and he got thrown away. Austin Eckler got thrown away by the Chargers. They said, "Oh, he's too old. We're not going to pay him the money he wants." Blah 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 blah. And I think that Bobby Wagner was in the same boat. They said, "Hey, he can't play linebacker anymore." And Dan Quinn, I know it was last year, but he brings him back for another year and keeps him as the captain. And just what a great story. Matt, Tony P, anything?
I mean, I think as far as like we were talking about before in boring games, I mean that's one of the that's what you're looking for when you watch football is 45-31. Like, I can't believe the Commanders they didn't get stopped one time. Like, I was on the Lions hard, and I flipped mid game because I was like, they cannot stop the Commanders
They were
at
on
all.
fire.
It
They were
is
on fire.
crazy. And last time they played the Eagles, they put up over 40 points too. So your offense is humming. And McLaurin he's a good receiver. He is a
He's
good
underrated still.
receiver, dude.
He's somehow still underrated. Everybody just looks at
Dude,
his
he
yards. He
can't
had
be no more,
13
man.
touchdowns. Like, he's fast. I mean, that screen was insane. It just trading it with
Insane.
JMO, which was awesome. I thought that was amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, he always kind of goes on the radar. I agree. Matt, anything to add before we move on to Sunday morning?
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, just because I live in Massachusetts does not make me a Patriots fan. I think they're all dirty, cheating rat bastards, and it's great watching them suck. Number two, pretty sure somebody hosted the football podcast earlier this year and was singing the Commanders' praises. And even so much, I even text Paul and Anthony after their team wins, and those rat bastards don't reply either. So there you go. What are we doing? Jesus, Mary
I'm
Joseph,
busy
maybe that's
watching
why
more
nobody roots for
football.
your team. Huh?
There's always ball on.
There's
I'm
always
busy.
ball on. I'm just saying, after your team gets the biggest win in decades, you How many people from this podcast texted you and said, haha, good job, boys?
Only you, okay?
Like a champion
Could
does.
y'all
No, I got
imagine
a congrats from Lewis. Lewis did say a congrats. And then Chris did a sad one when he realized that he was cooked in the group chat.
Yeah, they're all champions. They're all classy men. That's why.
Well,
That's how we handle ourselves.
1 second?
second.
I
What
gotta
were you going to
ask.
say, Cody? I heard you all ready to go. What
Oh,
were you going to say?
what? Could you imagine if Mahomes would have got hit like Golf did? They would have probably went ahead, called the game, gave him the Super Bowl trophy, and just called off the rest of the
He would have been
playoffs.
arrested. That guy would have been
Yeah,
jailed. They would
never
have.
to play football in the NFL again.
They would have went
Well,
out to midfield. You would have saw the ghost of Ruth Bader Ginsburg come out and rule him guilty, drag him off the field in handcuffs, and he would never touch a football field ever again.
Well,
Ever.
hope we see it in the Super Bowl and just do it to him then.
Oh, okay. Maybe a little preview there.
Oh,
Let's talk about this snow game. Obviously, I was on the Rams. Told you they were going to cover. I thought they had a chance right there at the end. But as far as snow game goes, we say we love the snow, but do we really love the snow? Do we really love the sloppiness? I guess we'll find out. Mike, you actually got to watch this game, so why don't you
I
start us
did.
off here?
Got to see some football on Sunday. It was a great game. Had a couple friends and a couple guys from the East podcast that were at that game. They said the conditions were awful, but not the worst that they had ever seen. Specifically being at Eagles games. And Greg said that by far the worst conditions he had ever been to, Tony, was at Lambeau for a game. So he said, you want to feel cold. You don't go somewhere on the East
yeah,
Coast. You go out to Lambeau and you know what cold is. But as far as the game, I
crazy.
mean, I think that talent won out. I think the Eagles just have more talent than the Rams, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. Their offensive line is just one of the best in the NFL and open up holes that I joked earlier that I think I could run through some of them holes. I probably won't get 60 or 70 yards, but I get through that initial hole if you make it that big for me. And they made it very easy for Saquon to hit those holes and just keep on going once he hit them. And on the defensive side, Jalen Carter is a man child. I mean, that guy is just like Anthony. You're in trouble this week with losing one of your better offensive linemen and having to double team him to begin with. That man's gonna be on Jaden. You
Yeah,
better
Mike.
watch
Some
out.
would say Jalen Carter's a killer both on and off the field.
Yeah,
So he's
fair
Dang.
enough.
he's pretty good
Dang.
there.
Dang. Woo!
Hey,
Patty.
But
shots fired.
Anthony, what do you think? Division rival. You get to see him this week. What do you think about this game from what you saw?
My friend was at this game too and was talking a whole lot of smack for not playing a whole lot of good football, which I obviously was on the snow some, but Saquon still did amazing, which obviously I had that. The Rams, if it literally wasn't in the snow, Rams win this game. It was the turnovers that cost them. It was the conditions. It was just those simple, tiny mistakes that wouldn't happen on an actual field, I think. Which same thing in the Ravens game, which we'll talk about later. But like, I think it was a great game. I loved watching it, except that the Eagles won. But I'm
Yeah,
ready to
no, I
beat them.
agree. Cody, what'd you think?
I really didn't watch too much of the game of that one. That was, wasn't one of my favorite ones. I guess it wasn't bad. The snow kind of made it in a way boring to me, I guess, because you were like, okay, fumble, sloppy, whatever. But I'll be honest, I didn't get to watch much of it.
That's
I
fair.
guess I'm happy. I guess I'm happy the Eagles won, I guess. Now I'm hoping the Commanders beat the hell out of them.
Fair. Matt, what do you think?
I have a question, actually. How hurt is Hurts?
that's what I was gonna ask.
I mean,
I think
as
he's like
far as hurt goes,
okay.
I think he's hurt. I don't think he's injured. If that is what I
What's
should
Hmm.
it's
clarify, I think
his
he's hurt.
throwing
But I
arm,
think to
right?
get to this point, in the playoffs, you have a lot of your roster that's hurting at this point in the year after 20, 21 games at this point. Tony P, what do you think before I get to my point?
Well, I think it's a lot more serious than what you're saying. Like, if you remember a couple years ago, the Eagles took out the Niners because they didn't have a guy who could throw the ball down the field. If Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball, they're in trouble because the Commanders are going to score points. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to get a. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, but that's a clashing difference in the way they run their offense. I hate how the Eagles always get in third and short. It's insane. I watch the Packers play, and we're in third and 10 every drive, and the Eagles are always in third and 1 to do their push shove. Drives me crazy. And Stafford is old bones, ancient, needs to retire. You guys talk about all these things that the snow caused. Stafford would have not been able to move if it was 80 degrees out there. Are you kidding me? That guy is old as dirt. Like, so I think we need to acknowledge that maybe the Rams need to do something a little different at quarterback next year, and I think he should retire. And
Yeah, the
lastly,
Rams. The Rams should definitely move on from a quarterback that threw for 330
was gonna
yards in
say
the
he's better
snow.
than anybody else they're bringing in next
they
year.
they should they should definitely let the guy retire who threw for 330 yards in the snow against the top five defense in the NFL. But that guy's washed, if you ask me.
I I mean Stafford's washed. I think he's washed.
They
But
almost won that game. They almost stole that game.
I think that
I
little
think
Green
he's
Bay
like
hate is
this.
coming out of your ears right now, bro. I think that little Green Bay hate is oozing out. You're thinking
okay,
of
and
I
lastly,
think
bringing it back to the Packers, I I heard a lot of names. We were talking about a lot of receivers last week who are free agents. Is Cooper Cup a free agent? Because I need Cooper Cup on the
Yeah,
Yes,
Packers
isn't
if
I
he?
he's a
believe
free
so.
agent. We
he
did
is a
I
not
thought
talk
he
free
had
about
one
agent.
him.
more, but I could be wrong.
Y'all
Mike, you
just
Well,
need to
say he
bring
is?
Randall Cobb back.
Yeah,
Randall
he's a free
Cobb.
agent. He was talking about maybe leaving. He has made public comments in the past day or two about
Interesting.
potentially not being around
get
next
me
year.
Cooper Cup. That's who I would love on the Packers.
You're
Yeah,
going
I
to end up
mean,
with Michael Pittman.
I would take that too. I mean, we need a number one receiver. Give me guys. Give me guys.
you
That
forget this is
brother.
the playoff podcast. Tony P, we're done with the Packers. I'm sorry, my friend. It's over with. It's done.
Listen,
But
I'm always
no, I'm
drafts
just
in
messing with you,
Wisconsin
Tony. I
this year.
love when
I'm
you talk
always on the
Pack.
off season. All right.
I love when you talk Pack. Uh, you know,
When you talk
quick
back.
point. Uh, as I've said throughout this whole playoffs, what do the Eagles do better than anybody else? They squeeze you out and they juice you down, and that's their brand of football. And there's only one stat that matters, and that's winning the football game. And Jalen Hurts didn't look great. I get it. But he didn't look bad either, if I'm being honest. He played a winnable football game. He played the brand of football that they needed to. A big run in the beginning of the game. Obviously, if he's more hurt than I'm leading on, I agree with you, Tony. I think that they could be in a little bit of trouble, but I think that they're going to lean on Saquon. I think that they saw what Jameer Gibbs did to Washington. I don't want to touch on that too much, but I think that's where they're going to look, as far as their game plan goes, and we'll see. But on to our trust of the week for most of us, my Super Bowl pick, the Buffalo Bills, baby. Getting it done in the snow against Lamar. Crazy ending. We'll go reverse.
Crazy.
Tony P, start us off.
Well, I mean, big drops. A lot of big drops. The Ravens had them the whole time. I think the Bills are fan favorites, so I mean, I had no thick in it. I mean, so I'm happy it was a good game, but man, to drop that catch, what could have been. If that was my team, I would be a sad bear to. But
Yeah,
And the
no,
Like what
fumble.
he's
that's really all. It was a great game. I mean, two good teams. I think the Bills are gonna win the Super Bowl, so I'm riding them still. But I don't know. I'd be saying the same thing if the Ravens won that game right now. So
yeah. Matt, what did you think? Did you get to watch this one?
Oh, I watched all of them. Yeah, I watched every game. I thought that Baltimore does what they usually do. They have a good season and they choke around the second round. I think that there was a personal feeling because again, I how I feel about Josh Allen, but there was a part of me when I was watching Allen and Lamar at the end of the game, and I was kind of like thinking, if Mahomes wins again, this is going to be kind of like Jordan, like smacking around like Ewing and Barkley. Like these are the guys that might never win because this guy says so. So
Yeah.
and again, so we'll see what happens next week. But if Josh Allen loses again, I'm all done hearing about how he's the greatest thing since sliced bread compared to everybody else when he's done exactly the same. So next week will be interesting. We'll see how that goes.
Cody, what do you
Lamar
think?
lost like Lamar always does because he
hey,
went to the wrong school. He went to the wrong school. His whole life is over. If he would have never went there, it'd be
Oh
okay.
man.
Just saying.
Good take.
He'd
LaChoke
already have two
Jackson.
Super Bowls if he had gone to Kentucky.
Yep. We would
Yep.
have brought him up right. We might have not have won a lot of games when he was there, but when he got to the league, look at Randall Cobb. Huh? Look at there.
Yeah, Kentucky
Randall
legend
Cobb's a
Benny
good
Snell
receiver. I love me
Jr.
some Randall Cobb.
Or Benny. Well, you can't go on Benny Snell. Okay, he went to the Steelers.
Benny Snell Jr., Kentucky legend. Anthony, what do you think here? What'd you think of this one?
I had the Ravens losing. I didn't have it going that way. That was dramatic as hell. They don't got to do it like that. They're gonna lose it. Just lose it normally. Like, come on, guys. My favorite thing out of the week, though, was the Ravens posting on Twitter before the game a video of Mark Andrews running and catching a few balls. Snow doesn't affect at Mark Andrews. Someone literally just quote tweets
Hey.
it and goes, "Nope, like nope, it does." Like very much. That was my favorite thing. It was literally all his fault. He had a fumble, another fumble too.
Uh
Like
huh.
I think we got to stop. Obviously, it's on Lamar too because he didn't play perfect. But it's a lot of that is on Mark Andrews. That's two.
A
That's a
lot.
turnover and a conversion that you should get.
I
Ooh,
will
Yeah,
what about
say
the PI though? There was a
it was
PI.
Andrews.
There was a PI. Buffalo got stuffed and they only got a field goal out of it, but that was a terrible call. Does
Yeah,
anybody know what I'm talking about?
yeah, on Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It was a ticky tack call. I know why they called it, but definitely ticky tack. Mike, what'd you think of this one?
Just heartbreak for the Ravens, especially Mark Andrews dropping that ball there at the end, and for Lamar too. I thought Lamar had a decent enough game. I mean, he certainly, I think outperformed Josh Allen. He had twice as many passing yards, twice as many rushing yards as Josh Allen, and you still come out on a losing end. That's tough. That's tough as a competitor to know that you did all right in those kind of categories and you're coming out on the back end of it.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
Lamar end of his contract, or has he still got
no,
another
he
year?
He
re-signed.
just signed.
Yeah, he re-signed at least a year or two. I don't think it's more than that. About a year or two ago, and he signed for 5, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah, it sounds right.
I don't
So,
remember. Yep. Okay. Andrews
I
won't be
mean,
there.
a couple things like as far as this game goes, I think that one, I think that it's not fair to praise Josh, and I love Josh. I think he had a great game, but it's not fair to praise Josh and put down Jalen Hurts. If you look at both, like talk about winning the football game,
They
very
had the same
similar
game.
stats, very similar ways to win the game, but it looked differently for both guys. So that to me, I think is something that I'd like to bring up. Two,
I like that.
I loved that Lamar Jackson, and you know me, I'm a Raven hater. I loved that Lamar Jackson went in that press conference after the game and said, turnovers killed us. We're not doing the right things. I got to do more. This, like, he is a professional's professional, and anyone that thinks
Yeah.
otherwise is crazy. And lastly, go Bills, baby.
I got one more thing.
Yeah,
I saw this fact because we were talking about the yards with Lamar. Every team that won this past weekend had less yards than the losing team.
yeah.
How is that possible?
Well, a lot of times we saw,
Like,
especially like, I
That's
know Houston
crazy.
was a little bit different, but a lot of times the winning team was up early enough that they were kind of, running the clock out or playing that 4 minute offense that we talk about. So, especially like when Washington got up, I know they were pretty similar in yards, but once Washington went up 14 on a defensive score, especially,
yeah,
they kind of settled in. Same thing with the Eagles. The Eagles obviously had that huge run with Saquon, but then they were just trying to kind of conserve and conserve and conserve. But I did see that the Houston stat, I'm sure you saw that was Houston was like the first team to outgain their opponent with 100 yards and win the turnover battle in the divisional and lose. So, that's crazy. But we are officially time to make our picks. Gentlemen, what we're going to do today is as we go around and talk the 2 games we got coming up this weekend, you are also going to include your pick and if you'd like to be that team as your bust or trust. We're not going to do it as a separate segment today because we kind of talked long with college football. So you're going to have a chance to say when you'd like to put your bust, when you'd like to put your trust as you're making your picks. We will start off with the NFC 3 o'clock kickoff on Fox. Brady and Burkhart calling. The Commanders heading to Philadelphia. Mike, start us off. with your pick, your analysis, and if you're taking a bust or trust here.
I'm taking a trust. The Cinderella story is over. Philadelphia is going to win. I've said that since the beginning of the playoffs. Philly was my representative for the Super Bowl from the NFC. They're going to beat the Commanders this week.
All right, short and sweet. Anthony, I'm sure you're picking the Commanders here, I would think, but on you.
Oh, obviously, I'm gonna continue the ball rolling as I've
A
been.
better fan than your father, let me point out, who has not picked
Whoa.
Washington yet in
I'm,
the
su- I'm
other competition for
I'd
the
be
other
surprised.
podcast.
I'd be surprised if he's watched any of the games. Um,
Ooh.
I am
Ooh.
putting my bust on the Eagles because of the fact that they're going to rely on Saquon too much, and not that he's going to get hurt, but I don't think he's going to continue what he's doing. He has been doing it all
Okay,
year.
Topher.
Mm.
That's just disrespectful. To even say that is just, I am
You
hurt.
I've
bet.
been hearing it from him for 20 weeks.
All right, but I think the Commanders do win this game. It's going to be close. It's going to be a fun one, but I think the Eagles' defense, we're still giving too much credit to. In the snow, they let up 22 points. Like, let's get besides that. Against Tony P, you said a little skeleton in the backfield. So, there you go.
Cody,
Oh, you stole mine there, two-way, because I was literally picking the Eagles as the bust. And I'm going Commanders. Cinderella story. I need a
love it.
I need a little hope. I need a little hope here. You know what I mean?
Love that. Matty Ice, Matty Ramone, Razor Ramone. What do we think?
It's Richard, aka Rick Ramone, sir. Get it right or pay the price. So, anyways, I'm right. I've been on this Commanders train. What are we talking about? I think I hosted week 3. I said Commanders. Let's go. It's go. Yes, Commanders. And I don't know the buster. I trust that the Eagles will bust. So there we go. There's that.
Sounds good. Tony
That's
P.
awesome.
I mean, I'm surprised we're all going Commanders, but I have to go with the Commanders too. Like
Oh, two-way, you're screwed. Oh,
I'm be the only
yeah,
one that's
it
right
probably
this
is the
week.
curse. I
No,
just
Tony
think
P, you like the Eagles. Bet on the Eagles, okay?
I don't think Jalen Hurts. I think he's hurt. I really think Jalen Hurts is hurt.
Whatever they did to him in that tent when he went in there, it's like Michael's secret sauce on
Yeah.
Space Jam. It's like,
It's just Aaron
come
Rodgers.
out.
They gave him a perk 30, I think. Like,
Yeah.
They got some real good drugs in the NFL.
I
Maybe
will be going with the Eagles. Not because I'm not rooting for the Commanders. I really am. I really hope the Commanders win. I hope they get it done. I'm going to pick the Eagles simply on 2 things. I've said that Saquon's MVP case is solid. However, I think that most backs in the NFL would have been 1,200-yard backs behind that offensive line. I think if out of the 32 starting running backs in the NFL, I think you could make a case that 30 of them would have been 1,200-yard rushers behind this offensive line. They are
they didn't have
mean.
a.
What
They
are you
didn't
going to
have
say,
it
Tone?
before Saquon. They didn't have a 1,200-yard rusher.
Yeah, but they didn't have Mekhi Becton at guard last year, and they didn't have a younger. And I love Jason Kelsey, but they didn't have a young guy at center that seems to be juicing their inside zone a little bit more. I'm not saying that they're unbeatable, but I think the offensive and defensive line advantage goes to Philly, and I think they just kind of juice them out, like I talked about week 1 with the Packers. So I'm going to stick with Philly, but I'm very much rooting for Washington, and that will lead me into my trust of the week, the Buffalo Bills, baby. I picked them from the beginning. Even if Josh loses, I tend to not agree with Matt here. I think that we talked about this way about, and again, I'm not calling him a Hall of Famer, but we talked about Peyton this way. We talked about Ben this way around Brady. We talked about Rivers this way around Brady. And I know they got to get it done to prove it otherwise. But I do think it is time for the Buffalo Bills to bring that Super Bowl they've been working for home. I think they come in with the juice. I think they control the offense. And I think that despite Kansas City's defense, Joe Brady is going to make himself a very hot head coaching candidate by dialing up one of the best offensive games of the year. I'll take the Bills as my trust, making KC my bust in the same game. Tony P, back to you.
I mean, I'm going Buffalo as well. What stands out to me is when they played Kansas City last time. Like Buffalo came out. They scored over 40 points against them. They had them on their tail the whole game. They've lost to Kansas City before in this game. They're going to be playing like on alert. They're not going to be playing punting on 4th and 10 when they in their own area, you know. And I think they're going to give it. They're going to give it their all game. I really think Kansas City's due to lose one of these games. And Josh Allen he's a good quarterback. Like Josh Allen's got it. But I don't know. I think I'm picking Buffalo.
Love it. Matt, what do you think?
I think I'm going to do what you and Tony do is I'm going to just hedge my bets on both sides so I can win no matter what. So I'm going to pick KC, but I'm going to say this. I've said a lot of negative about Josh Allen. I will say this. If that man wants to win me over, go into Kansas City this week and make those people cry.
Mm-hmm.
I want the camera to cut to Taylor Swift and all those morons freezing their faces off. Just I want to see it because I'll eat that up like candy. So Josh Allen, this is your chance, my friend. But I'm gonna go with KC in the meantime.
Okay, I like it simply because what you just said was I'll take KC, but content, 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 Buffalo, content, content, content.
Yeah.
Cody, where you going, buddy?
I'm going Bills. I'm trusting that they expose Mahomes and all the refs that are on his payroll, and they just beat the dog snot out of them. I hope. Pretty much what Matt said. All the little Swifties be crying. Travis Swift cries, or whatever his name is. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I do. I hope they go down. I'm
All right,
trusting. I'm trusting the Bills.
Anthony.
Well, on the other side of Matt, I'm going to give you no content and literally just say the Bills because I hate the Chiefs and do not want to see them win. If the Commanders have to play them in the Super Bowl, I'm going to be very upset. America wants Buffalo, Washington.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Fair,
I
Yes.
want it.
fair enough. Mike, what do you think? Wrap us up here.
I'm gonna make it near unanimous. I like the Bills as well. I was on either the Bills or the Ravens, depending on whether Flowers was going to play in that game. I thought Bills would win it if Flowers didn't play, and I thought the Bills would go. I thought whoever won that game was going to go to the Super Bowl. That was my AFC Championship last week for me, so I like the Bills.
Absolutely. So, to wrap it up in a bow, I think we're ready to go. We got Anthony with our best wishes. He is the only person in here with a team still in stake. We'd like to say our congratulations to Mike. I
Hey,
love
Patty,
the.
some of us have a stake every week.
Oh, I
Come
know.
on.
But what I was going to say is, I'd like to give my congratulations to you in what I think is the home run hire in Ben Johnson. Obviously, we aren't going to talk.
Thank
I'll
you.
leave that for you guys on Tuesdays to talk about. But we are the Clash and Conferences podcast. We are rooting for our dear friend Anthony. We are looking for you to join us. Maybe we can find a Bills rep. Maybe we can find a Chiefs ref. Oh, I
No.
meant rep, not ref. Sorry, we already have those.
Either
So,
or, we'll bring them on.
Or a
They can
Louisville
get they can
rep.
get on
Maybe we
some
could get a
week with
Louisville
yeah.
us.
rep in here.
Ed Hockley, you want to jump on? We
I
got
got some
you. We got a
questions I'd
spot for
like to
you, buddy.
ask.
I heard that, Tony P.
Before we leave, can we just get Kentucky take right now? Where you're at with Kentucky basketball right now, Cody? That was also a big loss this weekend.
I'm not mad at the loss. I think we played great. It's Alabama. You know, it was our first home loss. I by no means am mad, and I'm even happier because look at Cal at Arkansas, 0-5 in SEC play.
Yeah, I mean,
Stupid.
that was a tough loss, but definitely I think Kentucky will bounce back for our upcoming March Madness podcast that will follow this, hopefully. We are the rotating members group. We are the only group where you can hear Tony P ask a college basketball question, even though it's not on the schedule. We love y'all. Good night. Mic drop, baby.
I'm literally going to give you the play-by-play on how you would participate in this podcast in less than 15 seconds. Here we go. You download an app. Our content producer, content manager sends you a link. You hit the link. You record, and usually within 30 seconds, unless you have COVID internet, you're done. That's it. You do nothing else. Steve does all the work. He stays up late at night. He does the editing. App, click it, hang up. The end. So,
That's it.
again, I understand People don't want to take on any more work than they need to. You're not. So just keep
There
that
is
in
no
mind.
work. This is fun
Mhm.
time.
Yes.
Sometimes a little bit of extra
Fun
work,
time.
maybe if you want to be the host. But if
Big
you just
facts.
want to be a team rep, come in here and talk about your team as easily as you talk about it with any one of your friends or rivals.